Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today's topic is downsizing and decluttering. Whether you're looking to move into a smaller house, reconfigure your current home, or just gain extra closet space, we've got some great ideas for you. Let's get started. Hi, Mindy and Julie.
Hey,
Hi.
girls. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. What's new or exciting in your world this week?
Well, I'm laughing because the thing that's been on my mind the most is a really fabulous meal that I had about a week ago when my parents were visiting. We ended up going to the Yard House, and it is a chain. Like they have it, in other cities, but I had never been to one. And I had just had the best. It was called blackened shrimp tacos. And these tacos, I'm still dreaming about them. I told Bryce, we have to go back. I've got to get these tacos again. So the shrimp themselves, like whatever seasoning they do on the shrimp is completely amazing. And then there's cabbage on it. And then there's mango and papaya, guacamole, cilantro, like, oh my goodness. Like there were so many flavors. Yes. Oh, okay. So that's why I was like, I have to tell you about this meal that I had.
Yes. Oh, that's cool. I'm always looking for a new restaurant.
Yeah. So loved that meal. I'm dying to go back.
And isn't that the best? Like part of the thing about when someone says, let's go out to eat, it's deciding, well, what do I want? Now you know that you want that meal. So when someone asks you, you'll be like, let's go there.
Yeah. I want that all the time.
Yeah. What's new with you, Julie?
Well, I've been busy sewing. I was so inspired by episode 22, A Spring State of Mind, wanting to get rid of my pillow on my couch. But it does have a zip-off cover. I did look on Amazon and just couldn't. They did have a great selection, by the way, but I just couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. So I thought about this fabric I had left over from a upholstery project. And so I'm making my own cover.
That's awesome.
Oh, I am so impressed.
How long had it been since you'd done a sewing project?
Quite a while.
I feel like that's half the battle. It's like when you stop doing a hobby or a craft, it's like leaping back into a project feels almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
Well, I set up that little sewing room in my son's old closet.
Okay.
It has a table and I have my sewing machine out and I have like a cabinet that was in his closet that has all my pins and needles and all that stuff. So it's all ready to go.
Nice.
That does make it easier. Speaking of things that we do with closets, I actually am not podcasting from the floor today. Do you notice that I'm elevated to a normal level?
And I can see all your blouses now, and not your shorts.
You can see the other side of my closet.
You've got a little pep in your step today.
Yes. What happened is we have a pretty big window in our closet. So that whole side doesn't have like bars for hanging clothes. And what I used to put over here was all the artwork that I'd never know what to do with, like nicer artwork that my kids have done or artwork that I've done or just pictures that we've had hanging but I've taken them down or big family pictures that I don't necessarily want to display anymore but I don't want to get rid of them. And the pile
put them in your closet.
Yes. And the
hanging in your closet?
No, or just stacked against the wall under that window because
I thought you meant hanging on the wall.
No, just stacked. But I bet the pile had gotten 10 inches deep. I mean, it was just coming out and out from the wall. I was out in the garage and my son was over with his fiance and they were kind of looking at some stuff I have in the garage. I'm always trying to get rid of things. And I said, hey, do you guys want this sofa table? And they're like, well, no, probably can't use it. I was thinking maybe I'll just save it for when they get married. And then they said, nah. And so I thought, well, I probably need to list that. And then I just happened to be sitting in church. I don't know why I get good decorating ideas in church, but I all of a sudden was like, that sofa table, I'm going to make that into my desk. And I just couldn't wait to. So it had 4 drawers, and I had Steve get out the electric saw and saw off the bottom 2 drawers so that I'd be able to slide my legs under it.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's not a very deep. It's probably only 12 inches deep, so it doesn't jut out far into my closet. But yeah,
it's perfect.
Yes, it fits right under the window. I can put my laptop, my microphone. And it actually, when I removed all that artwork, I found out there's a plug in that wall, so I could actually plug my computer in and charge it from the desk. All this stuff.
Well, Marie, and you just have this glow about you that's like perfect lighting.
Oh, I know.
You right in.
Well, I'm looking smack dab out a window. Like I have a window view. I will put a picture of my podcasting closet office on Instagram stories this week so people can see. But I was thinking about, it's great to reuse something in your home. And this sofa table has had like 5 different lives. We've used it as a sofa table. We've used it as a plant stand. We've used it as a bookshelf. My daughter had it as her makeup station in her room for a while. I mean, it's had many lives. Now that I've hacked off the drawers, I think this is probably its last purpose and when I'm done with it. But it's been well used.
Oh, I love things like that too.
My sewing table was our original kitchen table. And then it got moved upstairs for a homeschool table. And then it's in a closet as my sewing table now. Because I never want to get rid of it. It has special meaning for me, but I just can't use it out in my kitchen anymore.
Right. That's good. Well, that kind of leads us to today's topic, which I'm so looking forward to talking about, downsizing. And we had a listener contact us with this question. Could you talk about mementos from your kids' lives? How many do you keep and how long do you keep them? I don't want to eliminate all of their childhood stuff, but at the same time, I'm trying to downsize and I can't keep it all. I don't want to burden them with it either. It's a different phenomena than just decluttering or post-holiday organizing. It's a season of life thing. Wow, I just thought, what a great question. And
it is.
It is. And downsizing doesn't just happen anymore right before you move into the retirement community.
No.
It's happening earlier. So I'm really looking forward to getting your perspective on this, Julie and Mindy. So let's just start out. When do people typically downsize and why?
Well, I think traditionally, historically, our parents' age, it was right before they were going to move into a retirement home or in with you or whatever. But I think it is happening earlier and earlier because people have a lot more cool options. They want to move on their boat, or they want to move into a tiny house or an urban situation, an apartment where they can just walk downstairs and go to their favorite restaurants and stores and things like that. Or I actually have a friend who is selling her house. She eventually wants to buy a different house, but for this season, she's going to be doing some traveling. They are going to live in their RV for a season.
Oh, wow.
And so it'll be interesting. Yeah, she's it's going to be a big adventure for them.
Yes, so she's getting rid of a lot.
Yeah, I think she has. I don't think she's selling everything. She will have to store some things for when they get back in a house, but she is trying to get rid of a lot.
Yes. How about you, Mindy? What do you think about downsizing? Have you had experience with people going through this process?
Well, I feel like I have to preface this whole episode because I was raised in a military family and my mom is from a military family. And so my view on this topic is a little bit unique, maybe and a little bit different. Some of our viewers may not appreciate that I am not sentimental whatsoever because all of my family has moved and moved and moved and moved. That idea of, we've been in this house 40 years, 60 years. Like, I don't know what that's like, and my parents have finally been in their home over 20 years.
Wow.
That's a unique situation. I think when you're in the military, you're moving a lot. Not in the military, moving a lot, key word, is just that you're constantly downsizing. You're not going to move junk from place to place to place, or you're going to really question, is this really worth it? Is this something I want to keep dragging into the U-Haul or paying the moving company to store or whatever? So you really kind of change your perspective on how long am I really going to keep this? Is it really important? So those decisions have been made my whole life over and over and over again. And so now my parents and my grandparents are in a unique situation of they're finally accumulating, but they started when they got out of the military.
Right.
Because they were forced to deal with it earlier.
They were forced to deal with it. Well, now they're in this is going to be a neat topic because because it's like, we've never been able to stay in our house longer than 5 years. Now we've been here 20. What do I do with all this stuff?
Right. Yes. I think moving, for whatever reason, is probably the biggest reason people have to go through their stuff and downsize at all ages,
Right.
And then I was thinking about other times they downsize, change in family size. Your family might be getting bigger, but in order to make room for that new child, lots of times, okay, now your home office is gone. So you're kind of pare down. Do I really need this bookshelf full of books? Or do I really need 2 desks? Maybe I can get away with a smaller space, or maybe my desk is now in my bedroom and my new baby has the office. So I think people, maybe they don't move, but they do downsize what they own. Also, I think loss of income. Sometimes people have to downsize, or just a general desire for simplicity. Sometimes you just feel burdened by your stuff.
I know. I helped my mom do this 9 years ago. Gosh, I can't believe it's been 9 years since I lost my dad. But she stayed in their home for about a year after he passed away, and it was about 4,800 square feet. I was talking to her the other day. We were joking because we had a big estate sale where we just pulled everything out on the driveway. We even let some people walk through the house and tagged the things that were for sale. And she had 11 couches.
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, she had 2 in a bonus room, 2 in a den, 1 in every bedroom, 1 in the office, 2 on the back porch.
Right.
And we just thought that was hysterical, like the 11 couches. And I think she sold all but 2. She had a huge dining room suite. She had a big screen TV, outdoor furniture, a woodworking shop, lawn care, china, dishes, a piano, an extra freezer, all of it sold. And she said, I don't miss any of it.
Wow.
And I don't either. I never lived in that house, but it was the house that we visited with all our kids. It was a very special house to us, but she said she doesn't miss any of it. And I really don't either.
Oh, that's really an interesting perspective.
That. Yeah, it is.
I love the idea of downsizing. Less to care for, fresh start. I'm always about a fresh start. Chance to start over, like with new style. Maybe, your mom wanted to start out with some different furniture,
Yeah.
An unburdening of the mind. I feel like I just don't want to be taking care of all that. There's so many great things that come along with downsizing.
Yeah. And I really appreciate her doing that when she did, because she was totally in control of what she wanted to get rid of. And I think now when it comes time for her to maybe downsize again, she has a very manageable amount of stuff.
Right.
When we moved here, we had to pack up 3 cars with everything that we would need for at least 6 months. That was an interesting social experiment because we're renting our furniture here. We don't have anything of our own. The only thing that's ours are a few personal pictures that I brought. And so I think about all that we've lived without, and I think about how big that house was and all the furniture we had. And like, life is so simple right now.
Right.
And all that stuff really is a burden. When I think about it, it's a burden.
Well, people are downsizing earlier and earlier, and they're living for experiences and not necessarily possessions. So what are some of the options they're going to? You touched on this a little bit, Julie, but what are some of the fun things that you've seen people do after they downsize?
Well, we do have one family that we know that we're a homeschool family that our daughter was friends with their daughter. They have 10 children.
Wow.
And they took the youngest 5 because the older 4 or 5 were out of the house married. And they sold their house, had a very large house. And I'm not sure I think they probably stored a lot of stuff, but they moved on to a boat.
Wow.
And they are cruising all up the East Coast in the summer, Bahamas in the winter. And the plan I heard was to do it for a year, but I think they're still out there. Like it's been several years.
Oh, Julie,
that's amazing.
I think that I see that in your future. As soon as I'm sure John knows about this, and that just sounds so much like your husband.
I know, he would love that. And I texted Molly to say, hey, hypothetical, Dad and I are moving on to a boat.
Right.
How would you feel about us downsizing? And she goes, I love the idea of you and Dad living on a boat.
Yes.
So I am totally not there yet, but I hope when the time comes, I'd be brave enough to make a decision like that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I could live on a boat, but like I'm such a sucker for those tiny home shows.
Mhm.
And don't they make them just look so adorable?
Yes.
I
But when I think that's the size of my closet, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking no.
Gosh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
I'm
Now,
sure
if I were
couldn't
young
do
and
it.
single,
Yeah.
I think it would be fun.
Marie,
Yeah.
come live in our townhouse for
Okay.
like a little bit. Kind of, get your bearings, and then you'll be happy to go back to your house.
Well, I definitely feel like tiny home living would have to come if you only lived with one other person. And then I feel like this is just the unspoken thing, but I just don't want to share one bathroom in such a small space.
I was going to say, like, don't you think, I feel like Steve's life would be at risk.
I do. I really do think so.
And where would you put Benny?
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Benny needs his space.
Yeah.
His sleeping space would probably end up being bigger than ours. Yes. But like, what about, I'm also a sucker for just like little cottagey looking homes, anything that looks small.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think I'm just drawn to maybe how could you make that work?
Right.
You couldn't make it work, obviously, while I had 5 kids at home, but maybe after. But then this gets to something we're going to talk a little bit more about later, but we can touch on it now. So I downsized so much that then when my kids do come home, do they feel like there's any room for them?
I know, like Bryce talks about that house in Tennessee. He was thinking this is retirement home. And I'm like, this is a huge house.
Right.
He said, hey, we'll just close off the upstairs and we'll close off the basement. We have everything we need on one level living. And when the kids come home, we've got the huge yard. We open up the other rooms for whatever we need.
Right.
And I said, sure, as long as, we can have a maid come in and clean it.
Well, and then there's maintenance. Like as your house gets older, I think about all the stuff we have to do that's not fun. And you don't even see the results. It's just to keep it like it's supposed to be,
Right. Yeah.
Well,
for
it's like
sure.
my parents have kept their home. I got to live in it 1 year before I got married. So,
oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'll call it my childhood home. I was there as a senior in high school. They kept that house, and but with us having 4 children, we've moved a lot. They've been gracious enough to come visit us. So we actually don't even make it to their house very much. So, you think that you're going to have your kids come home, but really when you're grandparents, you're a little more mobile and flexible. You've got 2 younger professionals that don't get as much time off. They've got kids and like their kids have activities and, so you think that they're going to come home, but maybe they're not going to come home as much.
That's a good point.
So maybe you just rent that big house at the beach is what I'm thinking. Everybody meet at the beach.
Yeah, that is good. All right, so let's talk about mementos because downsizing, sometimes it's really easy to get rid of the extra couch or the extra freezer. But we can also have accumulated a lot of sentimental items from our kids' growing up years, things that they've collected, things that they've used. I feel like as a mom, especially of, a few children like we all have, you almost from the time your second comes along, you have to already start picking and choosing. There's no way I can keep all this stuff. So what kind of has been your idea about that? Because I sort of feel like there's an unspoken competition among moms sometimes. Like you're a better, more loving mom if you can't bear to part with any of your children's artwork or their team or school photos or their trophies. And you must not care about your child if you don't want to catalog and store all that stuff. I don't think that's true. But like when I tell people I have a garbage can right on my way into the house from my minivan, and a lot of stuff gets dumped in there and doesn't even make the house, they're like, oh, really? But I just feel like that's just a practical way to be. Like, I don't need to save every Sunday school paper. So anyways, and I think even my kids have come to sort of make me feel guilty about that. But honestly, if I had just saved all that, I would need rooms devoted to it. So what has been your attitude on what do you pick and choose, even as your kids have grown up?
Well, I've just kind of given each of them a box that, and I did save a lot of artwork. And then maybe around middle school, high school, I went through all that, realized most of it could be thrown away. I kind of had trouble throwing away initially because I thought, I don't know how important this is. So then I went back through it and, kept very little of it. And if it was something I felt like I couldn't hold on to because of its size, I took pictures of it. basically everybody got a box that was from babyhood on. And it really needed to fit in that box, whether it be a baby blanket, baby books, maybe a toy, a trophy, all that stuff. But some of the things like that I've had trouble dealing with has been baby clothes, because I smocked a lot of baby clothes, and I have held on to those, and they've been in Molly's closet all this time. And I've recently talked about, I can't wait to use these again. And all the kids are like, Mom, no thanks.
Oh, really?
They don't want them. So
maybe for like
how dare they?
The baby dedication or a special photo shoot, Julie.
Or I said, hey, when they're at my house, they can wear what I put.
That's what I was going to say. When they come over,
I'll just change their clothes.
You change them.
Speaking of baby clothes, though, have you found that they still look nice? Because I would pack something away and take it back out, and then like all these stains come out like over the years as they're stored.
A few of them have, but most of my smock stuff I tried to take really good care of, so I am going to hang on to those. There are a few boxes of toys. Molly loved Beanie Babies, and I think I have an entire box of those. They're probably going to go pretty soon. And
I think you missed your window on having those be valuable resale.
Yeah, true. of no value whatsoever. I did keep American Girl dolls, and I offered them to Molly, and she said she didn't want them, and she said you don't have to keep them. But I chose to keep them for myself because I would like to keep them here for grandchildren to play with. And once they're through with them, I don't feel like I'll have to keep them forever and ever and ever. But they were expensive. They were loved dearly by Molly. So I feel like another little girl can love them too. And it's something to have here.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's really all that I have. I haven't kept a whole lot of stuff like that for the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How about you, Mindy?
Yeah, it's so ironic that when we made the move from Nashville to Knoxville, this was really Bryce's driving force, but he said, like, we need to organize this stuff. It gets out of hand so fast, the things that you can accumulate. We bought a Rubbermaid container for each child. We just took everything, pictures, items, clothes, toys. And so each of them are labeled. Like each child gets one box. We have a married box, like for he and I, like things from, early on. Then we each have a box from like our childhoods. And so those are the only Rubbermaid containers. I hated the process.
Yeah.
Like it was so hard, but you're right, Julie. Like we held on to stuff initially. You're unsure when your children are little if you're going to be able to, part with it or how important it's going to be. And then you realize, like this is really not that important. Or I have like 15 of these things, I can keep just one.
Right. You can throw out the multiples or duplicates, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of book collections that I have kept. One of them, my daughter read the Life of Faith series. It's very similar to American Girl, but it was a Christian perspective. And so we had gotten her the hardbound books, and they're no longer in print. So like we've kept that book series, and that's sentimental. But again, one box, and it has to fit in there. And like you, Marie, just like constantly making decisions about stuff, keep, throw away. I've learned that I really don't care to keep my children's teeth.
No.
There was never a pull on that. And my kids already know I have never, ever bought a school picture because they're always horrible. They're hilarious, but they're always bad. I'm like, I'll pay once a year for a professional photographer to do our whole family. Those are the only pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I know. I have one box. It's not even as big as a big Rubbermaid. It's under the bed size for each kid. And as that would get full, then we would cull out, because there's always things that you put in there that even a couple years later, you're like, we actually don't need to keep that. And then I have a hard time getting rid of books too. I have saved books that I have read to them. They probably don't have any meaning to them because they don't remember how they snuggled next to me as a preschooler, how many times they brought me that book. But those books, I can't throw those away. Like, they have meaning for me, maybe not even necessarily the child.
I did keep all those books, and they're not in storage. They're actually on a bookcase. I've kept those. And that is one thing I wish that my mother had kept, because I have certain books that I've tried to find that I remembered from my childhood that I've tried to replace.
Oh, yes.
So I do think that's a good thing to keep.
Yes. So even though we're not at retirement age, we've kind of talked about that we are constantly having to make decisions. What are some ways that we can start to prepare to downsize and make it easier, even at this age, either on our kids or ourselves when it comes time to move?
We're not ready to downsize yet, but I do think I can always downsize my stuff. And when I think about things like china and silver and crystal, things that my kids probably aren't going to want, I know eventually I need to deal with that so they don't have to deal with it. But I look at it now, I still enjoy using that.
Yeah.
So if I enjoy using it and it has a purpose, then I'm going to still hold on to it. The things I need to deal with are the things that are, quote, living in boxes, like that their only life is in a box, for someday or for whatever. And I'm not talking about Christmas decorations or things you might pull out once a year, but stuff that has never been out of a box. That's the kind of stuff, and papers and photos and notes and cards. I hang on to birthday cards and notes that people have written me.
Yes.
I don't need to do that. I need to go through that kind of stuff because that's the kind of stuff that's hard, I think, for your kids to go through. And it's just going to keep getting worse. And right now I have 3 wedding dresses at my house.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So you have your
my own,
okay.
Molly's and Kayla's. I have the room. I don't mind, but I need to, probably send those back where they belong.
Or the 3 of us could really have a fashion show.
Yeah.
So I just, I look at it. What is its purpose? Am I still using it? And then, I'll keep it. But if not, I need to deal with it.
Those are good questions. I like that.
I really do try to get rid of things on a regular basis, mostly because we just don't have extra room. But I always have a Goodwill pile going in the garage, and I still keep adding to it. Yeah. That's where I pulled this sofa table out that I now made into my desk out of the get rid of pile. Sometimes the get rid of pile sticks around too long, and Steve's like, can we actually get rid of it? But
before you pull it back in the house.
I know, before I pull it back in the house. But I do think that the things that I have to deal with more are art. I have done a lot of art over the years. My oldest daughter majored in painting. My younger girls have been artistic, and there's just always, I hate to throw that stuff away. I have given my oldest daughter all of her paintings from high school, that she had to make this big portfolio, and I knew she only lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, but I was like, I can't make decisions on this. And honestly, I'll look at it and probably value it more than you do, because she's like, oh, you can just throw that stuff away, Mom. And I said, Abigail, I physically can't put it in the garbage can. You're going to have to take it. And then if you don't want it, you put it in your apartment dumpster. But I can't be the one to just toss your artwork.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's been kind of hard. And it's hard for me. I still have a lot of my own high school artwork that my mother saved. I sort of wish that she had not gotten rid of it over the years, but now I have to make decisions on it. And as soon as I pull it out, I can remember what I was doing that afternoon. I can remember how I felt. And it's like, how can I just throw that away?
Well, but if it's in a nice folder, I'd say
no, it's framed. It's
framed.
It's hard. Yeah. It's bulky to store. That I did have to get rid of some things just to fit this desk in here. And
maybe take it out of frames and put it in a portfolio or something.
I know. I was thinking if you made a book out of those paintings.
But like what you said, Julie, if its only life is sitting in the closet, does it really have... If I don't want to hang it on my wall, do I really need to hold on to it? No.
Right.
Yeah. And how often are you going to go through things with your children? You have it in your mind, we're going to sit down and go through and talk about it. When are they going to want to sit down and talk about that?
Have a little art show, Marie.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea, Julie.
Yeah. I will definitely say that having a big family and not a lot of room. I was talking with Julie about this. When Abigail got married, her sister, her younger sister was waiting in the wings to take her bedroom. So it was not like museum to Abigail after she left. It was oh, Abigail left? Okay, I'm moving in this weekend. Right. So we had to just immediately go through and toss, keep. Do you want this, Abigail? You can keep I'll keep enough to keep under the bed box. And I did hold on to her artwork until I eventually gave it to her. But other than that, it was like, if you don't care about it right now, probably need to get rid of it.
Right.
And she even made a comment when she came home a couple weeks later. It was like, man, I just feel like you guys kind of erased me. And I know it did look like that, but it's just that other kids were waiting to take that space.
Right.
And
sometimes life forces those things.
Yes. Whereas if there hadn't have been somebody waiting to take the space, I may have taken a lot longer to go through that stuff.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think of a question from my friend Janet, who's moving into her RV. She asked, how do you get rid of your kids' stuff when they say they don't want it, but maybe they're not at a place emotional maturity wise to even know they want to keep it? Like, will they regret it later? So I don't know. I think, Aunt Marie, your answer was good, to maybe just force them to deal with it. Like, if you can't throw it away, at least have them do it. And also, I would say to maybe give them a deadline, like if it's something they need to come pick up, depending on how far and how easy it is for them to get to you, say, I'll hold on to this until whenever, and then it needs to go. I've also thought, maybe baby clothes wise, my daughter said, I would like an outfit or two of mine versus her entire wardrobe for the first 5 years. Like, she doesn't need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I have,
You do, Julie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
not
Julie.
5 years, probably 3 or 4.
Oh,
because it was all smocked, and I
do
couldn't
think
get rid of
that's
that.
hard. It's not something that you
It's
bought.
kind of
I
art.
mean, you put
I know.
your
That's
time
different.
and energy
It's
into
true.
that. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
art. I mean, that is,
So, I think at that point, keep your most favorite, keep the most special.
Yeah.
What do you do about different things that are hard to get rid of? Like, maybe your grandparents passed away and you took things in a moment of grief and sentimentality, and now you don't know what to do with them because they're really too big or they just don't fit or whatever. Like, I think that can be hard. Or different collections that people pass on to you. You might have said at one time, oh, sure, I can take that. But now you're like, this collection doesn't really have any meaning to me. Have you guys had any experience with those types of things?
I had some stuff from my grandmother, just because we were really close, and there were some very specific things I wanted. She had a little writing desk that my mom got, and she's since given that to Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And I have these little Mr. and Mrs. Claus salt and pepper shakers that were always on her table at Christmas, and they could be 80 to 90 years old.
Oh, wow.
I don't even put salt and pepper in them. I just have them out, and they are the cutest things. And I just think of her, so I didn't need a lot, but just there's, things that are special are that way because of some memory attached. And I have photos of her that are framed throughout our house. And that was enough for me, just to have some connection to her in a small way.
Right.
Yeah.
I've known adults, though, that they have said, like, oh, my mom passed away, and so I have her dining room furniture and mine. I have her living room furniture and mine. Like, a home can only absorb so much.
Right. I witnessed something kind of from a distance, but it really also, unfortunately, fed into my lack of sentimentality, because when Bryce's grandfather passed away, he really spent his life collecting coins. It was a hobby. It was a passion. And he had collected just some of the most rare coins out there. As soon as he was gone, nobody cared about him.
Oh.
Like he spent his life doing that, and literally they're in a trunk of a car being sold in bulk to some collector. Sometimes, and that makes me question even myself. Like, there are things that I might really care about. Your kids won't necessarily care about. Julie mentioned like all of the baby clothes, and I know Molly's expecting now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're like, okay, this meant so much to me. I actually made this. I spent a lot of time on this, and it means something to me. And it may not mean as much to her. There's not many things that were passed down in my family because of all of the moving and things like that. And so I haven't really been faced with that particular situation. And like Julie, there have been like 1 or 2 pieces, a set of dishes or an old camera or something like that, like a weather vane off Bryce's grandpa's barn. I love that weather vane. And so it's just like small pieces that we've kept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a camera that's really old. It's as old as I am. My dad bought it when I was born because he wanted to take pictures. He wanted to take pictures of me in the hospital, and it's really old, and it comes in this big leather case. It's really cool. And I have it set up in Molly's old room as a decoration. And she said, I'd really like that camera. That's something she said, I think the things that would be important to me are things that my dad has made, or jewelry that could become an heirloom, or special books, small things.
Token items.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what are some not good reasons for keeping something? A few of the ones that I saw were I've had it forever.
I used that one.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a gift.
Right.
I might want or need it someday, or it might be worth some money. What do you guys tend to tell each other? Like, is there one of those that really is your fallback excuse to keep something?
I use every single one of those. I mean, all equally. I seriously do. If I've had it a really long time, that makes it even harder for me to get rid of. Because I think, well, I've kept it this long.
Right.
For the gift thing, I'm an Enneagram 6. So I feel like I would be disloyal to the giver if I gave a gift away.
That's an interesting outlook on it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really convicted right now because I have been in the awkward situation of being given something, not really caring for it, getting rid of it right away because that's how I am. And the person comes over, oh, where's the hat? I'm like, oh no, it's gone.
Oh, see, that's funny because I thought, I never go to someone's house looking for the gift I gave them. So I thought, you probably don't do that to me either. But now that you said that
has
even
happened
more
to
reason.
me. And I'm sorry, Mom. I really am sorry. I'm just going to apologize right now.
Yeah.
Well, I heard someone recently say, if it was a gift, then it's mine. And I'm free to do with it what I please, which includes give it away. So I'm trying to remember that.
Unless your parents gave it to you.
Oh,
I
Marie,
think those carry more weight.
And they're going to notice and ask.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
They come over and they ask. They're like, oh, where'd you put that? I'm like,
Well, this kind of goes along with parental expectations. But sometimes... like, I keep things because my mom has said I might need or want it, even though I don't think I will. And I've brought a little exhibit to show you.
Okay.
All right, listeners, I am holding up a preschool project. A preschool project that one of my twins did. It was for Valentine's Day. Little felt hearts on pipe cleaners, potted in a little pot that she stuck stickers on. And then one of the hearts has her little face. See Lydia's face?
Oh, that's so cute,
and
Lydia.
It was super cute. I don't even know if this was in preschool or elementary. I don't want to...
That just does not look like something you'd hang on to,
No,
Marie.
Julie. Yes, I'm going to tell you why I held on to it. So let's see, 2011. I don't know what grade she was in. Maybe preschool, maybe kindergarten. I don't want to do the math. But so Lydia, 2011 on the bottom. So I, of course, when she brought it home, oh, so sweet. And I think she may have even gifted this to my mom, like for Valentine's Day. I think my mom actually had Lydia and Lauren's on her table for a while. Then when that, kind of month had passed, she gave them back to me. But she didn't just give them back to me. She said, you should save these because they would be so cute out on their high school graduation table. Like when I have a party someday.
No.
And
no.
And because I get rid of so many things, I thought, well, will I regret this? And then I thought, I really don't think I would regret it. And it's quite large to store 2 of them. But because my mom said I should save them, they have been in a cupboard in my kitchen, taking up valuable space.
But not valuable enough for her to store.
No,
exactly,
not valuable enough for her to store. So anyways, sometimes you can hold on to things because other people have suggested that you might need or want them.
Right.
Yeah. I'd peel that picture off and save the picture.
That's what I was thinking.
And this is what tends to happen when you store things too, because I actually had 2 of them, but when I went to pull them both out, Lauren's has somehow
Okay, so that's
lost
trouble.
many of its hearts over the years. Her picture's not there. I mean, they've been in the cupboard. I don't know what really happened. So it's like you could store something for, 13 years and go to put it out on the high school graduation table and it's not even intact anymore.
Right. Because Lauren might really be upset that Lydia's looks so good.
Yes, I know. I think I need to just take off that little picture of Lydia and be done.
Like, that's one of my things is I'm not sentimental, and Bryce really likes to throw things away. Like, I figured that out, which is funny because we talked about how I accidentally threw his wedding ring away that one time.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so it's funny because he is notorious for throwing things away. Like, you leave it out for too long, he's like, well, we got to clean this up. We got to organize, like.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because you both have military kid backgrounds, right?
Right.
So I think, and I was saying this to Julie, I really think there probably is a correlation, probably not 1-to-1, but there is a high percentage of people that have moved often over their life. They probably just aren't that sentimental. You can't be.
I don't think you can be. There are things that I think back to, and I really have to tell myself, I have the memory. I have the child that played with the blanket that we no longer have, and I think that you want to go back to that time, and you can never go back to that time. So when I separate myself from, look, I've had, the kid grew up. Like, that's the sad part. It's not the thing. It's that the child stinking grew up and you're still thinking about it.
Right. Here's a question for you guys. Are you or will you be storing stuff that belongs to your out-of-the-house kids? And kids, if you're listening, here's your answer.
Absolutely not.
Take it while it's here.
Okay. So I had fun with this question because I thought, who wants old, dusty stuff when you can buy them new stuff? Like, when your kids are moving on, if there's one piece, like I have an antique dresser, I've used it in multiple situations in the house as a TV mantle, as, pictures, whatever. So that is a really unique piece. Okay. So that I'll keep. And if somebody wanted, I will give it to them. But anytime you start taking up space for like I don't know, maybe I might want that one day, then to me, like, that's not worth the effort and the space and the dust it's going to collect. And it's not going to be in that great a shape when you go to pull it out.
In this day and age with Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and garage selling and thrift stores, like, if they need something, they will be able to find it.
It's true. And like, when I have grandkids, I want to take them shopping for new toys. I want to, and plus I was thinking, like, all the toys that we had for our kids, they're probably not good for kids these days for some reason or another. They've been recalled. Okay. So
that's true. I'll store their under the bed boxes until they have a house that's big enough. And I might store a small piece of furniture or two if I can, like, find a use for it in the meantime.
Right.
But I did also pack up a couple Rubbermaid bins, maybe even 3 or 4. It's kind of unlike me, but I don't know. I couldn't part with some of the classic toys that they had played with and toys that they no longer make anymore. And I just couldn't part with them. Maybe it'll get time to have a grandchild and I'll pull that bin out and just immediately send it to the dump because it's terrible. But and my kids have connection to that, so I did say to Abigail, hey, if I got rid of this, would you be disappointed? And she's like, oh no, I'd like to see my kids play with that. So I mean, that's what she's saying right now. I don't know when she's going to have kids. She may not care one bit by the time she does. I don't know. Even last year I went through Davis's, like, trophies, medals he got running. I took pictures of it. I said, hey, do you want these things?
Right.
No, I don't want any of them. And I thought, if he doesn't want them, what am I going to do with them,
Right.
Yeah.
So
I get rid of that too.
Yeah. I told him I feel weird about throwing it away. He's like, Mom, I really just don't care. I mean, if the person that won it doesn't care.
Well, maybe it's like Abigail's artwork. Like, here, Davis, here's your trophies. I can't bear to throw these away.
Right.
But I won't be upset if you decide to throw them away.
Yes. Well, how can we get our kids helping us with this process? And I think you guys have touched on some great things by just asking them, do you want this? Should
Yes,
I keep it?
I texted my kids and I said, hypothetical, Dad and I are moving on a boat.
Yes.
How would you feel about that? Would you miss our house? Would it make you sad? Would you want anything, or would you say, sell it all? I just kind of wanted to get their reaction. And they said, well, it's not our house. It's not our stuff. So we would respect whatever you chose to do. It would be a little sad, but we would get over it.
Yeah.
Right.
And they all said that they would want. I was kind of surprised because I had been reading a lot that, hey, kids don't want your stuff anymore.
Right.
But they don't want the traditional stuff like china, crystal, silver.
Right.
I mean, my kids didn't even get that for themselves anyway. But they all did mention small, specific things that had special meaning to them, things that were handmade or made by my dad, or some jewelry or photos. Like those were definitely things they were interested in keeping because they had some meaning attached.
Right. Mm-hmm. I've heard of so many families that when the parents pass away, the kids a lot of times are left with so much stress of going through the home, going through the stuff. And what a burden and stress stuff has on a person. I mean, if it didn't have stress, there would not be a show called Hoarders. I don't know how Bryce and I will handle it as we age. We have 4 children. How do you separate things amongst your kids? Who gets what? If I could sell it all before we die, Lord, just tell me when we're going to die so I can get rid of my stuff. Yeah. Okay.
I'll be left with one plate, a cup, and a spoon.
Well, my grandmother that I have the little Santa Claus salt and pepper shakers, way before she died, but she was in her 80s. She did have her grandchildren say, please let me know if you're interested in something. And she even asked my mom. And she put little Post-it notes on the bottom of all of the stuff in her house because she wanted it to be known. She didn't want the fighting or she didn't want something to just get tossed and I really wanted it or whatever.
Right.
And so, one granddaughter got the piano, one got the china, one got the silver and, and I thought that was kind of a neat way to do it,
that
to just,
neat.
And then I think, I didn't think about this, Mindy, until you mentioned the fighting and the burden of dealing with this stuff, but it might just be also good to say, hey kids, if you don't want it, you don't feel pressured to keep it. Don't just feel free to get rid of it. Now, if it's of something of value, I want to let them know, like, you should probably sell this.
Get the money from it. Yeah.
Right.
Use the money.
But don't feel like you have to hang on to it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I imagine my kids cleaning out my closets or my drawers, and it helps me get rid of things, because I'm not a great organizer of closets and drawers. And I just picture my kids having to do that. And I'm like, or would I really want them to find this? Or, just whatever. One thing I really hate about that is I always feel like I just have to get rid of journals. Like, I just think, if I die, I don't want anyone finding this. So
old Bible study books.
Yes, you feel like, just if any of my kids listening to you, I die, like, just please toss that in the fire. Don't even read it. It was thoughts that probably aren't even true anymore.
Right.
But I think that can be like a burden on people. Like, I don't know, what would they even do with all that? Would they feel too bad to throw away your writings? But you don't really want those still out there in the world.
It's true.
Circulating.
Tell the kids, like, hey, have a bonfire. Yes. Have a great family get together and just toss all those in there.
All right. Are there any other reasons that you guys came across or that you use on why you keep things?
Well, I was doing a little research, and this was from a psychology journal, and I just kind of was wanting to delve into the reasons why this is so hard. And one of the reasons they gave was that discarding things could be an admission of our failings, and that holding on to things can also kind of be a toxic reminder of things that we've not yet accomplished. And I just had the perfect example of that. About 25 years ago, John bought this boat model. And it is in a huge box. And then he has another huge box with all the glues and the stains and the paints and the all the supplies.
That's
so
big.
25 years ago, we have moved that from Memphis to Nashville. And then it's been from closet to closet to closet.
Oh.
And so when we just recently redid our bathroom, we had to empty all that out. And so here comes that boat box. And now we've moved back in and we still have some stuff to deal with. And that boat box is now under our bed.
Well, let me just ask, would the glues and stuff even still be good 25 years? Could you get rid of it by telling yourself these supplies have...
Yeah, I don't know about the supplies, but the kit itself is like wooden boat pieces, that would make, even myself, like I have told him, no, don't throw that away. We had all these hopes and dreams of what it was going to look like. We were going to display it in our house. He was going to have this nice little hobby.
Right.
And he worked on it for just a small time. And I think he doesn't want to get rid of it because we think, oh, what a waste, or we've wasted money on that. We might as well finish it, or, or it just reminds him, look what I never did,
Yeah.
And so that thing is going out this week.
I was going to say, Julie,
really,
throw it away for him. Maybe he can't throw it away and he might need you to just throw it away. And even if he protests later, just know that it was the best thing.
Unless a listener out there wants a boat model, come get it.
All right. And what were some of the other fears?
Just regretting that, I think we've all thrown something out and then the next day actually needed it. And I was talking to my friend Judy about this and she said, I kind of think of Goodwill as my storage unit. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I donate things, like she said, specifically a bundt pan and a cheesecake, what do you call those, spring form pans?
Okay.
She goes, I think I never made a cheesecake. So she gets rid of it and then she needs it. So she goes, I just went down to Goodwill and picked up another one. So she said, I kind of think of Goodwill as my storage unit because I can always just get another one.
Well, that's
for
true.
small things, that's kind of true.
Right.
I read the Journal of Consumer Psychology stated that we struggle the most to get rid of things that really don't have any monetary value or functional value. It's something that's somehow maybe tied to our self-worth. And I thought this one was really interesting as moms. Like, it might be hard to get rid of memories that are connected to that role. And I thought, well, maybe that's why it's hard to get rid of baby clothes and kids' artwork, because that keeps you connected to being a mother. I thought, that's not my identity. Like, I'm not just a mom. I can be a mom and have great memories of my kids without hanging on to all that stuff. And I guess it would be the same like an athlete wanted to keep their trophies and awards, just who they think they are, that those things kind of maybe prove that or remind them of that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a similar, but like maybe a different tactic. Is you think about like any person that has gained weight. You keep your skinny jeans, right? You keep all the skinny clothes in your closet.
Yeah.
Maybe like from before kids, and you hang on to that and you look at those things every time you go in your closet and you feel bad, you feel guilty, and you feel shameful and you're like, I can't wait to wear those again. I can't get rid of them because I got to get back there, right? I think about those old clothes that take up space in our closets that tell a story, and it's your identity. It was who you used to be or who you want to be. So I remember reading, if you haven't worn it in a year, get rid of it.
Yes.
And then get together with a girlfriend and go have fun finding some new clothes. Because I'm telling you, get rid of the old jeans because now they're stretchy and you can wear a smaller size and fit into them.
Well, and the reverse could be true too, Mindy. Like if you keep, because I've done this, I've kept bigger clothes. Yeah, what if I gained weight? Then I wouldn't want to have to go buy. And that's terrible because that's kind of living out that this is my target now. I'm going to, I probably will if I have these clothes, like
that
you just need to get rid of them. Yeah.
It's a mental thing. I do have one pair of pants I kept when I was at my largest. I keep those to remember. So I don't ever want to go back there.
Yeah. Another thing that got me thinking was it said, if we value relationships, then it might be difficult to get rid of certain gifts. And I keep birthday cards, Mother's Day cards, and meaningful handwritten thank you notes.
Yes.
And I have put them all in a box. They used to just kind of be everywhere.
Right.
But it made me ask myself, do I really need proof that I mean something to somebody? That's kind of what that is.
You're hurting my feelings because I saved those too.
No, but I mean, it's like I need to take a look at what is it that's doing for me. Like, do I... I don't know.
People really like me. Oh my goodness. I need to keep this card.
I need to
That's
pull
how I
these
feel.
cards out and read
Yes.
them.
Have you ever done that? I really haven't pulled mine back out to reread
No,
them.
I haven't.
Okay. Well, maybe that's it.
But, is that what I'm hanging on in case I need it one day? I don't know.
You and I could get together at Marie's art show and read through our cards.
That's so funny.
Or read our journals.
Right.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like we've probably only touched the surface for many people, but I'm hoping that listeners can identify with one or two of the three of us with some of the things, some of the mental excuses that we've had, some of the problems we've had getting rid of things. We would love to hear from listeners. Are you easily able to part with things? Do you have things that you wish you could get rid of, but you've been unable to? Do you have suggestions? We would love to hear from you, and I'd love to compile, some of the feedback and let people know.
Definitely. Love to hear.
Yes, and don't hate me too much for not being sentimental. And Mom, I have to apologize again. I'm sorry. I know that I have probably hurt your feelings with that.
But just keep in mind that you raised her.
Uh-oh.
Well, this was fun, and I know that this afternoon I'm going to get rid of some things. Next week, Julie, I want an update on that the boat model is out the door.
Yes.
I promise it will be gone by next week.
And I'm going to get rid of this little preschool craft because I have held on to it long enough.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Friends, we're so glad you joined us today. If you enjoy Midlife Matters, we hope you'll tell a friend. Show them how to find us on their phone and hit the free subscribe button so that they never miss an episode. They can also download and listen to each episode right from our website, midlifematterspodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Midlife Matters Podcast. You can also email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Bye.